Perfect. We're just letting folks in. And as the room fills up, we'll be getting started in 1 minute.
So can they hear us now?
They can.
Hi, everybody.
We are joined by Dr. Sharma, and he's going to be presenting on F words for effective writing. If you would like to contribute, you are welcome to post in the chat. But if you have any questions that you would like him to answer, you're welcome to use the Q&A, and we'll be answering them throughout the event as well as at the end. It will be a very engaging event, so we hope that you guys will participate. And we'll be going over some more rules and otherwise later. But thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Get started.
Can I begin then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I am very, very used to working closely with students, if not in person for the last 1 year, in small class settings, 20 to 25 students, 18 in some, 15 in others. Sam Sarma. I am in the program in writing and rhetoric, a department where students have to take and love to take the required first year writing course during the first year or the second. Some of them even go to the third, not a good idea. But we teach them the foundational skills in writing, academic writing, professional writing. There's also writing minor and graduate level writing that we do in our program, part of the College of Arts and Sciences, liberal arts education, foundational for all students across the university. If there's anybody who thinks, oh, I know how to write, maybe there's more. So today, in the remaining 7 minutes, I'm going to engage you in a few activities. No, the F words do not mean anything obscene. It was just trying to draw students' attention. A few years ago, I was using a handout to talk to students about some of the common patterns of student writing that make the writing less effective than it could be. They do such a lot of amazing work, good research, good reading, good drafting, right? And yet by not doing some things, they make the writing ineffective. In other words, we could have, given this workshop discussion today, the title, How to Get an A in Every Written Assignment. Yeah, I'm serious, I'm not kidding. So how to get an A? And I was looking at patterns, sort of an informal study of all of my students' papers over the last, 27 or 15, if you talk about writing, teaching these kinds of courses. And I found patterns, and I was identifying these patterns. And then I thought, okay, the first most important thing is fleshing out your central idea, your argument, your thesis, your position, your hypothesis, your question, depending on the genre of the essay or the paper. And I find that, 70, 80% of the times when the paper is really not well written, it's because the student has the idea, but is hesitating to state the central idea or even flesh it out. So the first F is flesh out. I will be talking about 7 other F words. So let's, with that little hint, let us begin. I'm going to give you 3 activities. The first is one in which I want you to read in 90 seconds, no more. When I say start, you guys are going to start. When I say stop, you guys are going to stop. Where's my phone? Well, don't worry, I will look at it, the clock here on the computer. Can we share this, colleagues? I will also try. Chat. Panelists and attendees. Oh, you've already done. Thank you. Okay. When I say start reading. Understand the objective first, otherwise it makes no sense. The objective is understand in 90 seconds of reading what the author's main idea is, what the author's main argument is. You should be able to summarize that in 1 sentence. I'll give you 2 minutes to write. For now, get set, go. 90 seconds.
I feel like I should be playing Jeopardy music.
You can start writing in the chat box if you like. 30 more seconds. Someone can't view it, so I'm going to show it so at least you can see the beginning. Time's up. Okay, right. We have 2 minutes to write in the chat box. I would like everybody to attempt. Don't look at another person's version. What is the author's main idea? As you understand it. Write, please. 2 minutes.
If you want, we can also call on people by having them raise their hand.
Aha. Yeah, so after the 2 minutes, let's give them 5 minutes,
to provide
volunteer and talk. Would like to hear. In fact, I'd like to see.
Yes, please include in your chat. What did you feel the document was saying? Excellent.
Great. Ritesh, Sian, Isabel. Wonderful. I'd love to have you guys in my class. Tay and So, Rodney, Sebastian. Can they also write it so that they can see each other's writing?
They can see each other's.
Oh, it says
two panelists. Yes, they.
They can see it.
Let's see. Yeah, they just had to change it from panelists to panelists and attendees. So right now, when you're sharing, you're only sharing to panelists. If you want to change the two from to panelists and attendees, then all the other people will be able to see it.
Please, guys, change it to panelists and attendees and share so that you can see each other's comments. I'm going to save a little bit of time, a good chunk of time in the end to listen to student voices. I'm the type of person who's so not used to not seeing and hearing. Alrighty. Hopefully we can get back to that camp, as you can see in my background. Although it's a picture so far. Very soon. Alrighty. This is wonderful. Can some of you raise a hand so our hosts can unmute you and you can read out? Let's hear the first voice. First 2 or 3. Isabel.
Well, I kind of just read like the thesis of it. So it was like the America changed from a welcoming country to an isolated, power-hungry country. And then if you read on for like the topic sentences, it goes on to say how that there is like the invisible barrier that like isolates America from the rest of the world. How then they also lack the ability and interest to study or travel abroad, which really like closes them off from the rest of the world. And also how like other countries dislike America for like how kind of like unwelcoming they are to other people.
Great. The reason I underlined the topic sentences, or the first sentences at least, and also the last sentence, is to see if it might help you to understand the big picture of the, the central idea argument of the essay by focusing on those spots. It really didn't help. It's a terrible draft. Don't blame yourself. So the first thing is, there's a lot of bad writing in academia, including by professors. This is bad writing. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of labor. There's a lot of commitment, but it's bad. Okay? So in 90 seconds, when you couldn't understand, it's not your fault. I'll give you a second draft. Oh, let's listen from one or two more students. Have we seen any hands yet? Two more. Come on, guys, volunteer.
No
Thank
other.
you,
Does anyone else want to raise their hand? Perfect.
Please. Now that you know it's not a good draft, what was your struggle?
Hi. So from what I was reading, I tried to read as much as possible, but I also tried to look at the main points of the paragraphs. But I really felt like it was talking about how America needs to like broaden their views and like embrace more cultures than what they are now, and like stay less focused on one perspective.
Yes, good effort. You're a phenomenal reader.
Thank you.
But the writer has to do their job first for you to really understand. One more. Go ahead. We have time for one more. All right, then let me say one or two things before we move on to the next, okay? It looks like in the beginning, here's what readers do. I used to teach a literary theory and theories of interpretation in my past life. And there's one called the reader response theory. What readers do is to register little signals, right? Like when you're traveling and you're trying to catch a radio station by changing channels. You know, if none of the channels are working, you're simply just shifting your channel, searching channels, nothing is working. It's terrible. It's like driving to New York City with trying to listen to radio. One moment you hear this amazing African music and then, I like that. And the next moment, some guy is spouting nonsense, political. And then you think, NPR is gone again. Don't do that. This would be like a radio station that is firm, stable, like you're sitting one place listening to whatever, NPR. So it begins by, it seems that this, this is separation. Don't worry about the spelling error now. Has been a melting pot from the beginning. People dispersed from around the world. Oh, it's about cultural integration. Oh, it's about immigration. Oh, it's about different diversity in faith, ways of life. Oh, it's about America being a nation of many cultures. Wait, and then this is about isolated, power-hungry country? This is anti-American screed nonsense? What's going on? You don't know, because the student has not really finished thinking and framing that one sentence that the readers need, like a basket you might give to someone who goes into an apple farm, apple garden, whatever, right? They don't have that framing, that central, receptacle to hold many, many ideas, not even within the first paragraph. If you fix that problem and do this, what happens? Flesh out your central idea. Let's copy that. Colleagues, are you able to give the second link? Thank you. Yeah, open that. Okay, don't read yet, don't start yet. I'll give you 90 seconds, everybody, when everybody seems to be on the document. We're going to spend 90, okay, 11, 13, 12, okay. Keep going. Click on the document at the bottom of the chat box. Don't read yet. I'll give you 90 seconds. Come on. We don't have only 20 people, do we? Everybody go there. You still can't view it. One person cannot view it. Why? Because this can be viewed by anybody. In fact, anybody with a link anywhere without Stony Brook ID or Gmail or email can actually come. Oh, maybe you don't have a Gmail access. It might require any Gmail. Come on, more of you. How many students do we have today?
30.
All righty, maybe others having actual technical issues. So let me screen share. 1, 2, 3, go. I'll share my screen for the rest of you who cannot. By the way, if the screen is bothering you, minimize it. Your time's up. All righty, let's do the same. Let's hear a few voices. And the rest of you keep typing in the chat box. What is the main argument? With the students making 1 or 2 rounds of revision with the professor's support, critique, peer review, the student wrote an essay with a fleshed out central argument. Is it still not clear?
Maybe we could read some from the comment section while people either find their voice or don't want to share out loud. One student said the author's main idea is that there are times where technology can both have a negative impact and a positive effect on lives. People only view from a positive side because the impact it can have on society, but goes again to prove their point on why America is a melting pot because of technology. Main idea is that America has both positives and negatives, but this essay to me seems to give excuses about the negatives more than talk about the positives. Any students want to speak out loud, feel free to raise your hand or use the chat. Perfect, thank you. Good, nobody wants to hear my voice.
Hi, so I thought that the writer discusses the negatives and positives along with the reasons of America's isolation, but I feel like their direction or their side that they want to pick is still unclear.
Yeah, much easier, right? Much easier to know what the author is trying to do, right? Others, keep writing, folks. Also now, I'd like to ask you a second question. Why, if it was easier to read, faster to read and understand, why was it? Not only because the central idea was clear, were there other? Let me see if you can figure out what I figure out when I read good versus ineffective versus effective writing.
Well, I also think like the topic sentences and like the central ideas for each paragraph was easy to read. And same with the conclusion. Like that was kind of like one of the main things that I was reading. It like really like brought it together and like talking about how it was a melting pot and like connected it to like a lot more than it did in the last one, I felt. And I kind of thought that they were like talking about that there's like positive and negatives, but like we kind of have to look at it not just from one side, because when we look at it from one side, it's very skewed and not.
Yes, you've really nailed it, because the main reason the essay was difficult to read at first was that the student did not have a simplistic America doesn't do a good job of engaging with the world idea. The student actually had a very powerful set of like, yeah, we may have our own conflict like any country with some other countries and not others. But we also have an important place and role in leadership in the world, and we have good relationship too. We do a lot of good work in the world. So how does the student really communicate that two-sided? Sometimes there are four-sided ideas. Sometimes there are intersecting ideas. Sometimes there are, gradations. You go to college to learn to engage with complex ideas and not to simplify and boil things down into silly binaries, right? The student was trying to do that, but the student did not say what they're trying to do. They didn't say America does not only have issues, it has these other strengths and qualities and respect and relationship in the world that we must also recognize. So the student is pushing back against the idea that we don't speak other people's language, we don't relate to others well, we are arrogant, whatever. The student was saying, yeah, maybe there's more work to do. We're not a perfect society. We should be doing better, but that's not the whole story. Yeah, and the difficulty comes from having to grapple with more complex ideas and being explicit, fleshing your ideas out, stating them is the way to do it. A few more. I want to hear what your reactions were when you read the first versus the second. Can you compare, contrast? I want to see more writing by more students. Come on, let's do it. If we're spending the hour together, let's make it productive. I have one more activity and an open discussion. I want to spend the next 10 minutes reading, listening to you guys.
So just in case some people are already just a panelist, so I'll share some of those. The difference one student felt was that the student portrayed their ideas much clearer in the second essay. Another student said that the author's stand purports that purports a negative and negation to the negative view of America, with people from other countries having different perspectives.
The next one says, I feel like the writer was just much more clear with exactly what they were trying to talk about in the version of the essay that than they were before. Aaron said, that was Amanda. Aaron says, the difference that I felt was that the student portrayed their ideas clearly. Yeah, clearly, that's a key word. Olufisayo, I feel like she put all her main ideas on America in her introduction, but goes on to bring, yes, the key ideas in the beginning. The key ideas in the beginning, right? Some more. Anyone wants to talk a little bit? Yes, please. Raise your hand.
Hello. Oh, okay. So I noticed in the first draft, it was like the intro, as we were mentioning, it sounded like a contradiction. So like, although it talks about it's a melting pot, and then it goes to the thesis, it talks about, although these facts are true, like America became more isolated. And then with the second draft, it felt like it was talking more about the overall idea of America, and that made him like that argument of like, although I kind of disagree with like having two opinions or two arguments and like, saying the positive and negatives. I felt like the intro was better, like it had better foundation.
No, this one wanted to do that. I mean, if they wanted to, they ought to let the reader know that's where they stand in the middle of the road, trying to say, listen, it's not that extreme, it's not this extreme, there's more to it, right? There are both sides of the story. Students don't have to do that. We do demand in college students to engage the complexity of the issue and say, is this really a one-sided issue? Or are you trying to, how much do you elevate the other side? In college, in school, high school debates, you try to, downplay the other side. In college, not a lot of faculty will like it when you try to downplay the other side. It just does not challenge you enough to, take your own game to a level, right, of grappling with, acknowledging, and engaging with complexity. So yes, if I understood you. Others, one or two more, come on. Talk. There's value to it. You learn, you share, you inspire. I tell my students, I'm waiting to be inspired.
Well, I said like it reminds me a lot of philosophy because like in the world, like there's so many different sides and like views. And like there's no simple answer to say that if America is good or bad, because there is some good stuff that America's done as discussed in the essay, but there is also the aspect of like, all the bad, but it's like what outweighs, like can the bad or the good outweigh the other?
And you probably noticed the student trying to assess the both two sides by a really interesting essay structure. It's not very common, but what the student's trying to do, let me see, is here. In the middle of the essay, which I italicized completely, there's an entire paragraph that we call the transition paragraph. Usually transitions are, done with a single word or a single sentence, right? But this student is actually using a whole paragraph because the transition is so heavy. It needs to do a lot of, fulcrum work. So the essay is a seesaw. Some students actually even start by saying, let us look at the positive side first. We call it meta language. Let us look at. or in this essay, I will argue. You shouldn't do it too often. It will backfire if you do that. But once in the beginning, this helps tremendously. And maybe, once somewhere in the middle, this kind of meta language and meta commentary can help a lot. And so, yeah, the student has a very complex idea, a very simple structure. What students try to do is the opposite. Their ideas are simple. They just latch on to some political binary, boring left versus right debate, right? And the structure is so complex you cannot follow. No, do the opposite. Grapple with complex ideas, because reality is complex. And if you don't have to really write about very simple issues like babies are cute, right? The planet must be preserved. Simple. What are the complexities there? Is it you want to explore why babies are cute? The biological, psychological, sociological reasons as to why we think babies are cute? Or is it that you want to go into why do we preserve the planet, and what to do with the realities of the current forms of energy that we cannot simply give up because we want to overnight? So one more. I'm insisting. If one more student speaks up, I'll show you magic. Okay, go ahead. 20 seconds. Everybody wants to see magic. Somebody do everybody a favor. Come on. See, don't kill magic.
Okay. There are some great ones in the chat. You could just read your own chat out loud.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, Sophia.
Hi. I'll just read what I put in the chat, but the ideas in the paragraphs appear to build on one another in this second revised draft. Not perfectly, of course, but does any essay do that perfectly? However, on the other hand, if you look back at the first draft, reading even just the topic sentences, it didn't feel like they were constructively building on one another at all. They felt like different arguments pulled from different essays all thrust into the same paper.
Because we did not have the big framework within which to put all of those disparate looking ideas. The moment the big framework, that fleshing out, was done in the beginning, then all the paragraphs, even if you simply copy and paste the revised paragraph at the top, the rest of the paragraph will begin to work much better, right, Sophia?
Exactly, yes.
And with thanks to Sophia for that favor, I want to show you the magic. Is there a hole here on this round piece of paper? No. Now, is there a hole? Write yes in the chat box, folks. You see a hole or no? Yes? Let's see how many people wrote yes. Come on, thank you. I'm doing all of this for you. Do me. Okay, now the small hole will become large hole. If you put a smiley or whatever. It's a small hole, right? How big is the hole? Big hole. The final message is that big hole is now, I love my students. I love you all too. Alrighty, that was just a little break. Alrighty, so if you had been thinking college professors are serious and unfunny, and no, we're silly. We're close and intimate with our students. 2 semesters ago, right before this pandemic began, at the end of the semester, there's Jackie at the back. I went and I looked at her behind her laptop, and it says, "Inspire me to inspire you back." And that seems familiar, I said. And she's like, "That's something you said when you entered the class the first day. Inspire me to inspire you back." And I mean it. And some students seem to take it as seriously as Jackie did by writing on the back of her laptop and saving that for the entire semester. And she said it It did some work for her because he thought, I'm not here to be inspired by this guy. I need to inspire this guy too, because he's a human. I need to be engaged. I need to show him that I'm interested, right? Listen, by the end of college, not even the end of the college, right now, by second years, 100 students are asking me for recommendation letters. And if I don't know anything about you, I can't say anything about you. So engage with professors, engage. One or two or three, not all. You may not have the time for it. One or two or three. Who is that one person, one lady, one gentleman who can brag about you for 3 pages, and at the end of the 3-page long recommendation letter still says, as you can see from the above, I have plenty to say about this student, but I'm sure but I hope you got the point. Right? But if you're quiet and never speak up and never engage and never inspire and never inform and never, give them anything to say, they will have nothing to say. Okay? Alrighty. My final activity. We have plenty of time. I'm going to leave you by 50, unless some of you want to stay and talk. Alrighty. Actually, I'm going to use the full screen. All right, present mode. All righty, let's do this. Give me about 5 minutes. I don't like lecturing. I like making learning happen rather than teaching. The first thing that you saw is flesh out your main central idea. If we had time, we could go do these frame your paragraphs. Well, actually, let's do it after this. I think we have time. Frame your paragraphs by branching off of the central idea. If necessary, explicitly, otherwise at least logically, within that big framework, right? Think of a tree and then a branch and a branch and a branch and a branch. When you look at it, you should be able to see that it's one tree rather than a dump of branches. That's what an organic structure looks like. Of course, different essay structures will be different, like different trees. Banana tree, papaya tree, jackfruit tree, and a regular oak tree are very different. And yet, they have a structure. The reader must be able to see it and say, okay, banana tree. I don't know if it's even called a tree. They should be able to see the structure, not only because of what you say in the beginning, but also the overall logical structure. The third thing is then focus on the main idea as you elaborate, even digress. Even digress. You can say, let me pause. By the way, it is important to note at this point that then you can go the whole paragraph that important to note. It's a digression, but it was a necessary digression, right? Like I just digressed a moment ago to say how much I love my students with a magic trick. It's simply a green screen trick. Foreground the paragraph's key idea, meaning just copy and paste it to the top. When you write, you're like writing, thinking, writing, thinking, writing. And by the end, you're like, aha. But your reader is not your granny. Doesn't have all morning to sit down there and say, what did my baby write? No. The reader is an impatient person who's judgmental. Not necessarily bad. They may be grading you, judging you. So think about them and give them the main idea first. A lot of students have this mythology that if you say the main idea first, you have nothing more to say. Nope. Then you probably didn't have much to say to begin with. So put the main idea first as often as possible. Then make variations after the 4th or 5th paragraph, but don't start beating around the bush. Yes, in the introduction, which is usually formed in academic essays and journalism and technical professional communication, the first paragraph tends to be funnel-like, meaning you don't just say this essay is about. No, you tend to say in the last 30 years, scientists have been investigating blah, 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 blah. One of the things that is really intriguing these scientists is blah, blah, blah. It turns out that in this essay, I'm going to, right? In this article, I'm going to, in this book, I'm going to. So you do start with a context, problem, issue, and then statement of thesis. But the rest of the paragraph tend to be more square-like, rectangular-like, because you state the main idea, elaborate, and whatever. The final paragraph tends to be reverse pyramid-like, because you start by maybe looking back and reinforcing the main idea, and also might actually say something about the whole thing. But Middle paragraph, body paragraphs, foreground, 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 the key idea. Just cut and paste. You're not using typewriters or handwriting. It's easy to do it because unlike you, the reader wants to start with a sense of where you're headed. The reader wants to start with a sense of what you want to say. They're not patient enough to follow you until the end of the tunnel paragraph. The next F is add flow. By connecting parts with the same purpose in mind. The connections must be done with the same purpose in mind. So everything branches off of the main idea today, which is to flesh out your central idea. If it is not fully developed yet, if you need to do more reading, if you need to do more research, if you do need to do more thinking or talking to Granny about it, go do it. But if the central idea is not clear, the purpose is not clear, none of these others might happen. Next is add finishing after you've done the above. A lot of students worry about editing and proofreading. I do not dock grades for grammar errors, spelling errors, syntax, anything. It does distract me, but I constantly do not, and my department, most colleagues don't. In fact, last week we had a big, giant workshop for faculty about language justice in the classroom. Should we be punishing students for writing in different voices, tones, styles, varieties? We don't. The modern writing teachers and modern college teachers have become a little sensitive. But if you sense that your professor is really bothered and will dock you grade for the spelling errors, please do spend the time to edit your essay, even in draft version before submission. If not, try to do that at the end. Format is extremely important. Sometimes the way an essay is formatted, headings and subheadings, margins, font, style, will make you look professional, will make it easier to read, easier to navigate. And finally, I was sharing these ideas with a colleague of mine, the former director of the writing program, Professor Thompson, and he was like, hey, all of those F words and there's no fun in it, grown-up stuff. And I'm like, okay, but it makes sense a lot. It makes sense when you think about how engaged you are so that your reader will be engaged. Today, as I was presenting these ideas, if I was like, so students, you should really focus on your main ideas. Would you be as engaged? Like if I didn't feel like I'm engaged in this idea, I care about students. You should really come off as you care about the audience, that you care about the topic. And that seems to be what makes people really engaged. Even after this, without this final, be engaged with the idea and engage the reader, it's hard to communicate effectively. Any thoughts and ideas for about 5 minutes, and then we'll spend the next 10 minutes, 2 minutes, and then after that, I'll give you the last activity if you're not tired yet. I hope you're not. Alrighty. Thoughts, ideas, hands, come on. Yes, Ziva.
How would you show that you're engaged in a topic? Like, how would you show that?
Louder, louder.
How would you actually show that you're engaged in a topic and that you're interested in it?
That's such a great question. The whole process, like when you're reading to find something that really matters instead of saying, how many quotations do I need, professors? 17 and a half. I hate that kind of quantitative questions, right? Or how many citations? I don't know. 2 per page sounds like a good idea, but depends, right? So engaging means that you are writing on a topic that you care about. If the professor gave you a topic to write about, care about it. There's a lot of students who would have this binary simplistic idea that if you, are given task, it's like forced on you. No, the coach is making you play it. Otherwise, don't go to the playground. And don't have those simplistic ideas about my topic versus their topic. They know something. Give them the benefit of the doubt and go engage with that topic. Right? To go to the office and say, this topic is intriguing, but I'm scared. can you give me some starting points? Can you talk about it a little bit? Yeah, they'll look in your eyes and say, this kid is interested. So care when you read, care when you talk, care when you draft, care when you write. Sometimes care doesn't naturally come without effort. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking about, right? Like, why is this topic important? Why does it matter? What do I not know about it? What can I know about it and become interested in it? What can I become, know about it and interest other people in it? Does that make sense, Joel? I guess you can still write. Alrighty, let's do this. This draft, activity 3. Oh, we have already shared that in the, okay, thanks, Joel. Let's go to this draft. Activity 3, the one that you see in the chat box, the last final activity, everybody. This time, you can write directly on the draft. What you're doing is you're trying to help the student to rewrite this first paragraph. If you're too bothered by the too many people being on the screen, go ahead and download from File, download Microsoft Word or whatever it is that you're using at the top left. Otherwise, go ahead and directly edit the text. Spend about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then we'll talk. Try to remember the ideas. Let me give you the F word handout link so you can take it away. Okay, you can download this one too. All right. Yeah, I just shared the link to a handout on these features of effective writing.
While you're working on that, maybe we can answer a question, since we are also recording this for any future viewers. And what advice would you give to high schoolers in essay writing?
Repeat that, because even I didn't fully.
What advice would you give to high schoolers in essay writing, about essay writing, how to write an effective essay while in high school? Like, they're getting close to graduation, they still have plenty of essays to write.
Oh, yes. In high school, there may be differences of teacher style, teaching style. There may be difference of topics and contexts. There may be difference of genres. So pay attention to them. It doesn't mean that these ideas are perfectly transportable, importable, right? They may not be, but you should be looking at these and say, I think this one will help, right? I want to flesh out. Have these students written? Yeah, they have written their
they had to have written their essay to get into college. Yeah. If they've applied, and then some, I don't know, they want to write in the chat whether they're juniors. Some might be applying next year, but most of them
not all, that means, right? So when you're writing, what I'm saying here, do apply to the case of the college essays, definitely, absolutely, because there are 2 additional reasons, at least one big additional reason for why this is a good idea for college essays, because they must read a lot, and they like it when you say what you mean. They like it when you say it quickly and upfront. They like it when you connect your ideas. They like it when you see what I'm saying? Because of the nature of their reading. In school, however, to go back to Jacqueline's question, there may be some variations to it. Some teachers really don't like when you use, in this essay, I argue that. Then just don't do that, But for challenging yourself as to what your main argument is, write that sentence up and then strike out, in this essay, I argue that. Leave the rest of the sentence. Boom. Does the reader know that that sentence is the argument, even without the meta language? Then you have succeeded. Otherwise, you're fooling yourself by avoiding stating. You might have hoped or wanted, demanded the reader to do the guessing, waiting, and remembering to get the idea. Look at the end of my the handout. It says, ultimately, if we can avoid making the reader guess, wait, or remember too much, If you can help them avoid that, you have succeeded. I call it the negative principle of grr. Like, they're so angry. They keep guessing. They keep remembering. Like, what did they say? They shouldn't have to connect the dots for you. The dots must be easily connectable. As they read, it must be, the structure must be clear, not the ideas. The ideas may be very complicated. Could be complicated.
We actually have 2 more questions, so this is a good way to pass the 5 minutes. How can a student effectively integrate evidence, citations, and or quotes when they're writing without interrupting the flow? As an English major, like, I'm loving these questions. I was an English major, and I'm like, yes, these are things you should be asking.
If you have a mug or something, keep that mug. Let them pick it up.
I know these are not, they're asking anonymously. These are great questions.
Oh, you should never be anonymous when you are so smart. That's a bad idea.
I'm even hiding behind a video now. I was that student. I was that student where it's like, I have this idea, but if I say it out loud, it makes it stupid. Don't be that student. If I have one advice from a forever ago college graduate, it's like, your ideas are not stupid, and participation is always appreciated.
I don't know a Stony Brook professor who it doesn't want to hear questions from students, who does not consider for a moment, like, is this a bad question? No. Some questions are better. Other questions are good. All questions are good because they're questions. If the student didn't have it, the student would be not there. Yeah. I can't even fully express, but no. Do not.
So how can they effectively integrate all of this into a cohesive essay?
Yes. Here's the thing. Like, when you're reading, finding a source, when you're reading the source, you should be reading with purpose. That's one thing the students do. One of my colleagues in the writing program has a PhD dissertation on how students cite. And oftentimes, we faculty do a poor job of communicating why we are citing sources, right? So we say, you need to cite 6 sources, and you need to use MLA style, and you need to not do the following, do not plagiarize. And then that's it. And the student is like, 6 sources, oh my God, right? So they go, find keywords, environmental preservation versus energy transition. And they put these keywords, and an article comes up, and then, Control F, Command F, preservation. And then pull that sentence and dump it, and try to write a sentence before and sentence after. Yeah.
I'm just laughing. I mean, I'm thinking I have a tutor and an English major, so all these things are. Yes.
No. That's not the whole point of education. Forget about the paper. The point of the paper is this, that you're going to purposefully enter a conversation with scholars who have studied and said, found and presented evidence about that topic, so that you, a serious scholar who wants to enter that academic conversation, because tomorrow you may not necessarily become an environmental preservationist, you might become an engineer, but the value of the intellectual practice of joining a conversation is that you first listen carefully. You go to a conversation that you want to go to because you chose that conversation in searching in the database. And then in that intellectual debate engagement, you position yourself as a listener. So read the article in full. If you need to cite 5 articles for your writing 102 essay, read them in full. If you do not understand it, understand them as well as you can, but read them in full, right? And that means when you know your purpose, and when you know the author's main idea, and then when you pick, first summarize, bring it in, and then pick the main, the quotation, the juicy quotation that you want to pick, and then start with your own statement. This issue is actually one of the most controversial in the past few, has been the most controversial the past few years, especially since the change in our federal administration. Studying the case of da-da-da-da-da region in da-da-da, author, scientist and professor at Harvard University Center for Environmental Preservation, Dr. So-and-so, has said that They further found that if we look at cases like this, then we see that. So the more you can sound like an emerging scholar, scientist, economist, even if you're not necessarily going to become an economist, the ability to talk about these issues, right, with interest, with understanding, as reflected in the citation. So citations should be integrated to make the reader feel like you read it, you are entering the conversation, you're contributing to the conversation. Yeah, it's not like you're going to be 37 and go to the mirror one morning and say, aha. You know, who was that Khan? I forgot. Isabel. Aha, Isabel, you're finally a scholar today. No, you're already a scholar, Isabel. Step by step. Take yourself seriously, right? It's not going to happen one fine morning. You need to take that conversation as if they're real people. If that person is reading your paragraph that you cite them in, then that person must be able to say, wow, I'm hopeful for the world because this 18, 17-year-old is engaging this intellectually complex conversation in a way that inspires me, that makes me hopeful, right? That's how to cite a source. Read in full, you know, read with a purpose, bring the sort of the context and then engage so that the flow naturally happens. You state your idea first, bring other people's ideas most of the times. Only in rare cases would you begin with other people's ideas, but it kind of sounds awkward. You should also try to end the paragraph with your own idea so that it looks like you had a purpose and you fulfilled it. One more question? I ended up talking a little at the end. I want to hear. I want to stop talking. Okay, 4 more voices.
We're actually coming up towards the end of the time, so I think we can answer this question and then look at the activity. This question was, do you have any tips about writing about yourself? How can you engage the reader when you're talking about who you are?
How can you what?
Engage the reader when you're talking about who you are. How can you make yourself engaging, I guess?
That's another very, 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 very good point. A lot of students ask this question, can we use the word I, right? It's another silly question. It depends. It depends if, you know, whether you're writing a personal essay, then not avoiding I seems silly. If you're writing a scientific report, don't usually, you know, in the scientific report, you simply say, you know, the mouse was given a certain dose of chemical. You don't want to admit that you were the person doing it. And so you use passive voice, right? In academic essays and first year writing, second, you know, the college writing, you tend to use it once in the beginning and maybe in the conclusion, but not so much in the middle. So these are conventions. And once you read other people's ideas, you begin to adapt to those styles. But your positionality does matter. Sometimes the positionality is hidden in the act of giving a certain dose of chemical to the mice. Sometimes the act of expression is not hidden because you say, when I was 17. Oh, you are 17, by the way. When I was 7, right? So you do ask this question of who my audience is, what my purpose is, what the genre is, what the context is. And then you decide whether to say it. But even if you don't say it, it's there, right? Who you are should be, you know, sort of audible in the tone of your writing, in the style of your writing. Even in a scientific report, you can show that you care. It's a good question. You could have a longer conversation, but I want to just say that. Some more? Come on.
No more in the Q&A.
I hope you are taking away that handout and just look at it. Don't take everything seriously. You probably cannot apply all of them in all contexts. I was talking about college context. You know, essays written for most classes where these are patterns of weaknesses and strengths. And I hope you found it helpful. Is there where do you get the handout? Okay, the handout, chat box link, open chat box and go to the link. I will also link it here. 1 second, let me try again. Q&A, can we post that link in the Q&A somehow? colleagues?
Yep, we're going to copy and paste it into there.
Say it again.
We're going to paste the link in the answer to that question.
Thank you. All righty. All right. One more voice and I think we can go. Time ran. Time flew. Question, comment? Formatting. Somebody wants me to talk more about formatting. Daniela has a question about the link. Let me post the link in the chat box again.
I just posted it again.
Oh, thank you. Okay. That question about the formatting. Oh, let's hear from Zuha. Unmute.
I don't know if this applies to everyone here, but I wanted to ask about autobiographies, especially when it's not supposed to be long. How do I know what to include in there?
Thematic framing is a very good idea, very good approach to keeping autobiography short. And then the second, you thematically frame it. First, write the story, fine. But when you start revising, start thinking about what frame should I put in here. Like at the end of the first paragraph, you might say, identify and state an issue. And that issue becomes the frame for the rest of the essay. And then you'll realize, I don't have to say everything. I'm going to select this one incident and build the entire autobiographical essay based on that incident with only details from other incidents and other parts of my life, right? A lot of times students use the linear approach where everything has equal weightage. No, look at it from the reader's perspective. If the theme demands that you tell the story involving the dog, but not the cat, leave the cat out. It's okay. The cat won't even find out that you didn't include it.
So we write incidents that basically kind of define us.
Say it again.
If we talk about incidents that define us.
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
An incident that helps you to, in fact, I use, in many of my writing, if you go to samsarma.net, N-E-T, I use these op-eds that I write for a sister publication of New York Times in South Asia. And I use this little snippet of a story in the beginning. I call it a seed story. When you plant that seed, everything you say after that becomes easy to follow, right? Because that incident really defines the kind of story that you want to tell and the theme and the argument you want to make, right? So find that seed story. And once you tell that seed story, elaborate it and don't give all other stories equal space and weight. Helps?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay. We're out of time.
Yes, I think we are. This was fantastic.
I'd love to keep talking to the students all day, especially if they would keep talking.
Well, we can always do more in the future. So this gives us a great place to start. Thank you for everyone for joining us. And we will have the recording available for those who weren't able to join. And thank you, Dr. Sharma. This was amazing.
Thank you. Always.